in de Charles en Thuid. Alappe, fiachan gyda, Britara Gyriad yn darn y skipig y siar as y fwyn agos ha ffydd gwlaen ropa. Na i to clwydd yn Espanya, clwydd Barcelona, skipig y siar as yn Thuid. Cwtsin y skipi yn y siar, clwydd yn y siar as yn Thuid, as y skipig ac y cwtiocs. Alappe ffeimach y tŵg a lori gymwr fo ma'r clwydd nain i Ukrainian na i chile. Cwtsia rymse, Os ydym yn cael no ca chyd ar chlwyd yn Halappe, agos y Bernie and Joel Murray. Joel, Fal Josh Dirish, welcome again to our BBC Alpha coverage of this qualifying campaign, which takes a big step up for Scotland tonight. The performances of late maybe haven't been great. They've been certainly managing to stay unbeaten, but Spain are something else.
They certainly are, Derek. It's a massive step up in quality of opposition tonight, especially to that of Friday night. And it's a game that Scotland will need to be at the top of their game to get anything from.
Yeah, and it is a step up in opposition, which requires a step up in performance. There's no two ways about it. The game against Ukraine was disappointing.
It certainly was. I think that absolutely sums up Friday night's performance. I don't think Jenny or the defence will be happy with the way that goal was conceded, but I think overall the performance on Friday wasn't good enough.
The back four tonight is radically different. Some changes in midfield too, but one constant from Friday night is Abby Harrison starting again, having got that all-important goal.
Yeah, and that's not surprising at all. I think the most surprising thing is that Abby hasn't had more caps up until this point. She's a goal scorer. She's scored in the last 7 games for Bristol, and a goal scorer is certainly what we need in the national team.
There was a time though when Scotland and Spain were fairly level pegging. Scotland beat Spain in their last meeting in the European Championships, but you know, this is a step up. Spain have improved greatly since then.
They certainly have. I think Spain are formidable foes. In 2017 we managed to beat them at the European Championships, but that didn't come of anything. We didn't progress, and then of course that game in 2013 at Hampden. So it certainly will be a step up in class tonight, and like I said, it'll be a game that Scotland need to be at the top of their game to take anything from.
The Spaniards have lost 1 game in 3 years. They've scored 88 and conceded none in 15 games. They've not conceded a goal in qualifying. I mean, Scotland, you know, are theoretically fighting it out for the top spot, but really they're just wanting to make sure they stay ahead of Hungary and Ukraine. Hungary haven't beaten Ukraine earlier tonight.
Yeah, of course. That's an incredible stat, that of Spain's. A fantastic run that they're on, and like you said, I think Scotland will hope to get something from the game tonight, but hope to just put in a performance and compete with Spain.
Yeah, not holding out much hope though, are we?
No, we aren't, but as a player you relish these games. You want to play against the best teams and the best players, and they'll certainly be up against them tonight.
Okay, Joel, thank you. Joel will be staying with us for our Gaelic language coverage tonight. If you want English language commentary throughout the game, you can find that on the red button with Leanne Crichton and Alistair Lamont. Gynnu sio gyda bysyn y brinius y Gaelic as hwnnw dysgu Leanne gymach am y garst sa clwydd yr ins coaching yn Ysbaen y chynimach ar hosioch ar y gêm agos na skipien y chynimach cwjoch le na hoffig ich a fiolfain le na let o fara ar reitir yn oc agos na hoffig ich gwylig as y iolfain agos Rachel Corsi at o'r skipin a Halappe ymach rydw Verena Paredes ag Barcelona skipper na Ysbaen yn oc Abby Harrison is in there, Cuthbert and Jimmy Yeri gemach, as een tre ik al apre Jennifer Macher de Vark. I guess ik gloeit er is jaren toe. Alexia Putellas ik Barcelona, of only he Ballon d'Or of Raid on the Paris miskin jegen at China Schach, as u in a skipping ik Spain van jegen er een huis in Hillen Varach, Dusan to Gugnoni. In Hachken Sachai. Covers in Narnachas of Ballon d'Or, vad Jenny Hermoso, Hatchili skipping in Spain, en nog geklik ik een neu. Sne skipien, een mooi, meer in de park, maar die hiesju aan daar streep. Tjushal, zo'n toosjoch, tjushal, zo'n ne loyen nationte isjoch. En hoosjoch, gaan we navets? Through na lappen. skipper gan luchtliantin hawl y galape. Na fein nawr 3 ychyr ffysig o'r Twitter y weir gyda gro dawn. A dawn, sbiadaliantin y skipig. Oes y gyda'r ei gêm yn doch, ysgifau'n rwtig yn y neu, ti'n gyda skipin y siars yn dŵl, y Sbaen. Ballon d'Or, Warnig Alexia Puteas on the Paris array. I guess Ishe in Misk Kookner had Chile Gesur and skipping in the Hackerish and Jagin and Rusian and Farach. Paredes is skipper, Hermoso, Smoria, Vertuljake. Puteas is Moria, Verhujake, Guiaro, I guess Seriegi, Chirach Gish, Seriegi, I guess Batley, Nahelik Barcelona, Batley, Man United, Seriegi, Sociedad, and Gore, Barca. Skipping a shot as the duel, we have over the club Hanatu. Richard Corsi, Chishel Marha, or son. Dueling pass, Irene Paredes, I guess in the Hofiki. Asignon line, or Shin Koikaharohian is skipping a Spain, or son the games. Hakea Ahorohian is skipping a Galabe, Hishin Yaka. Richard Corsi here. Satavini Warnacher. Savini Roy with the Hachris. I should think Bushik Clivang and Hulkalation, and I'm thinking you Piloch. Hominidjoch naar Hulkelle Tacher, just skipping a gallop on the three Achro in the Solane G and Doherty's McLaughlin, the Granger, Sharash, Howard and Archie Beatty, McLaughlin Thorshel, Boyle, had was at Gamia in the park, Chloe Arthur, a Tucha Machas, Kujuk, Lisa Robertson, Kujuk, it's in the Shach and his skipping, Grimshaw, I guess Graham, in Yaganilla, a Tucha Mach. I shot Ballon d'Or. The Puteas in a warm right. Joel Murray, there's nothing like the opposition showing off that they've got the best player in the world in the ranks and the second best player in the world in the ranks just before kick-off to set the juices flowing ahead of a game.
Yeah, I think if we didn't already know the quality and appreciate the quality in that Spanish team, that image there just speaks volumes and just tells you how great that quality is.
From Barcelona in the starting lineup, Barcelona, the all-conquering team who are absolutely wiping the floor with the rest of Europe at the moment. We're bigging them up a bit, but this is a very, very good Spanish side, probably better than their world ranking at number 10.
I would say so. I think it's a fantastic Spanish team, like you said. The team tonight, the starting 11 consists of 9 Barcelona players, and just as Barcelona are doing at club level, the national team is setting new standards on the international stage. So looking forward to seeing them play tonight, actually.
And from a Scotland point of view, what are you looking forward to tonight? What are you looking for from the Scotland starting 11?
I think for me, I think if we show that we are competing with Spain, I think Scotland play best when they don't have a lot of time and space on the ball. We saw that in Paisley against Sweden. I thought their performance was better there than it has been recently. So as long as we see them competing and kind of showing that they are there to take something from the game.
And you know in Brian, the park, la Cartuja, and the Seville, Savannah, and then was eigenlijk is het Porto. I ga slower aan, I ga mistaik rischen daar heeft. I ga Chishel, I guess Joe nog game hoosje. I say gave goal genoeg lonig. Als je effect in goed terug gaat, effect balkosje. Al op een stoosje gemaakt, alleen weer. Lisje vader, ik ga zijn speentje nog echt in. Ver maar goed gezien. En altijd de false 9 er. As Kelton game. Abby Harrison in the line Glee, Weir as a Vian, Lise Evans in the line Viesh. Lisa Robertson in the Pennissacher. Mara is in the line Glee. The in the park. Zijn Chris Breed was je weet hier Kutjaks lekker als je Spanje bal lijn tra stay in Kogo. Samach gesehen, wie sie wohl gut gewinnen. Joel, interesting. We're seeing Caroline Weir as billed actually, so they're starting as a kind of a, she is number 9 as a false 9, not quite through the middle as a striker, but just behind maybe a front 2, playing wider.
Yeah, we heard rumours of that false 9, and it's Caroline that takes up that position tonight. I just hope that she doesn't play too high, that she doesn't get on the ball, because I think we are most dangerous when Caroline's on the ball and creating stuff.
And Pedro Martinez-Los is going to be pretty familiar with the Spanish setup, with the Spanish style of play. Would you expect him to have got into this game saying, right, I know what I want us to do to stop them?
I think so. I think there's no better manager going into tonight's game. He's got a fantastic knowledge of the Spanish team, and I think he will have set Scotland up to try and annihilate the Spanish threat, whilst also trying to exploit their weaknesses, if they have any.
Dochert ik Rangers, je cheert hem skippers van Suag Trajan, als Jacher de Walde. Raschen goed. Pereira. Mongo Paredes, skipper. Mohabi, Suez Roine. Maar wie doet? Jacher is die Jacher. Bal puchtje gevaarder in de Spaanse. Liet Jarak Achkes en bal konderstof Lee Alexander. Quadrish met een Dochert is een matchgast. Dat goed Jacher Urfos gedaan mag is van hier preposchen. Genesker Dochert die het Geneve op berichten. Maar wie doet? Sule gevoipen. Cymryd sŵl yr fal ysgyda'r carwn y clwyd yn cwtio blaen i seichge nach bwring I lyg y lysysyn yr un chyfadar I cawd yn te mewn fach ar y fos trwy. KJ neud na ffews y hwchgys. Howard gein i'r falaf. Cwtio mynd eich yn y Sbaen gyda. Cwtio boi gol y mach na hwy. Howard y fawn yw'r castrish yn hosioch. Dwi'n fel o bahas jylig rys gyda. Harrison, in who is good in the spine. Michelle for art to have Sandra Panos to Are we already seeing the pattern of the game developing there? Scotland kind of pin back and jump in here, Joel. Curran in the spine. Curran, feed Curran. Oh, gee, rock shachat to the first. Lee Alexander, na see it. Jenny Hermoso, going to be after the corner, is a shoot. Gereden de krakerie, hoorde toe, hoorde wat ik in het kastje achter Lee Alexander, zo een shot. That's too easy, Joel, isn't it?
It is. It's far too easy there. It looks as if Nick's dropped a yard or two deeper than the other defenders and subsequently played on the Spanish forwards. And Rachel's done well to kind of guide that past the post, and I think we've got the goal kick in the end, which it should have been a corner.
She's done well not to score the OG as well. I don't think Jenny Hermoso quite got the context she wanted to.
No, you're right. Rachel was probably aware that any kind of more contact in there would have potentially guided that into the back of the net, so she has done well, whether she's meant it or not, to guide it past the post.
If it works, she needn't. Andy Harrison is the Ach, bij Nuñe, Paredes is een Galerash Compaños. Van Zitkley van Valise Evans kutje met Paños is in. San de huchtje gevaardig. Ja, Uhabi. Is een Spaantje. Voor begin oorlog. Ach, het er Gynwyr in dy galapu, begyn dy chlisgu chyr Paños ys cach, gyda had. Cwrstals, tolig yn y sifal ydyn Hassan. Chyd McLaughlin. Chyd y caff agos yn Chile gyda ein. Jill Boyle. Gefeich gyfach yn y sifal, chyd y maigir rhyw ffynisiach yn y ffwcus. Paredes gyda skipper i chyd yn ôl, ysga gydch farch yn y Hassan ag Boyle, mys bwrdd i Kelly yn y lish. Spike well chances of Uthgus. Coram shot Gabby Harrison. Harrison, oh, for a tashin. Oh, va Coram Owens for Cora Gallup and Goller Hoshach. Ciawn na Lavin, Caroline Weir as a VNB. Harrison the Vina Cresson. Cymmer nach Chechas Chach Eichke. Ik hoor met tuchtje weg, is Jay Coik minutjes. Voor mij duur, ik heb hem gemaakt. Gotra, show, ik al op het. Joel, Scotland are doing really well at the moment, putting Spain under pressure in their own box. But should Abby have done better with the chance? It's a really hard, just sharp chance coming to it.
Yeah, it's a hard one there. I think first and foremost she needed to get contact on it. I don't know if she thought the defender was going to get to the ball before her, but yeah, I think in hindsight she would have and should have done better, but she got the connection and unfortunately it didn't fall into the back of the net. But fantastic pressure from Lisa initially, forcing the goalkeeper into an error, and then Rachel Small doing what she does best, that composure on the ball, driving into spaces and creating something out of nothing.
And Abby's looking for it the whole time there. She's lurking in the centre there, expecting just maybe that something might fall to her. And as you say, she expected the challenge. She's just gone to hit that as hard as she can, expecting the challenge, isn't she?
She is, yes. I think, as I said, first and foremost, she's looking to get to the ball. I think she expects the defender to get a toe on it, but she does fantastically well. And we spoke about it before the game. She's a goal scorer and she's an 18-yard box player. And I think if she gets more of those chances tonight, she'll be hopeful that she can convert them.
Shit, naar Amerika niet geskippig, meerig. Skipping meerig goed over nu. De Spanje, zo zit het daar weer onder as. Highlight na nu is she believes couple chef Fusion and Sassin Japan as maar geen korme shot. Korm haast. Schachet der Forsterie, Schalap even. Kasses jachter gaming at Erin Cuthbert de Miskinegen uur Kasset balischen. Ashna Puchgesveen. Cuthbert is in een Ruttigener, Hormoso, Fiachmien, Arash, Suri, Rasha, Kusaregi, nach Purinien in Harakitsketa, Alapetich in the Kilor. We gaan de macht wacht dat hij in de sloeg meer in een richtje van Rachel Corsi's ben zich gekuspien. De voorste Harrison. De start, Harash, de Knispanchich. Mati, Marco, Bartley, Man United. Nu is hij eigenlijk goed als Spanje. We gaan nu zien van heel erg G's en skippen halve backlig aan Nalpe, die Alexander's Richard Boyle. Dan heb ik eigenlijk zo'n vier Richard McLaughlin's. Ik dacht dat ik nog iemand goed ook. En ik heb dus terug. Ik heb een G-schach gewonnen. Van de wal nu is er water, nu hebben we de gros gerustjaag. Spanje hier nog G's in de feverwaltje. Noos, ik kan gelaven. Die Alexander Kutjok, de mee, paar droog, Hermoso. Er wil de games in en draai naar Pieter de Wistij. The Spanish director obviously reckons that they've got a shout for a penalty there. Abby Harrison's challenge on Paredes. I'm guessing you'll disagree.
Yeah, I disagree. They're obviously showing it there because they think they've, as you said, got an opportunity for a penalty. But I think there's nothing in that. Abby's momentum kind of takes her into the player. But for me, the Spanish player goes down far too easily.
Spain, as we expect, passing the ball about, keeping possession. Scotland will be encouraged though by the way they managed to put them under pressure when they got higher on the pitch.
They certainly will, and I think for me what Scotland need to do, I think they'll not have a lot of ball possession tonight, but when they do, they need to take care of the ball instead of just kind of hitting it long and relieving pressure. So when they do regain the ball, they need to find Scottish players and kind of catch their breath at those moments, because like I said, I think there will be a lot of possession out of goal tonight.
Doing, rolling, Shachat er holt in je. Wahabi. Maar Shachat er vast goed. Should the manager ik Spanje Jorge Vilda. Ik go Harish. She have skill met skipping. Rash aan de David is Shachjiek. Euro 2017. Maar daar alle sterven van de Nui. Dat is een Orange. Alle er een Darne. Tres manager ak van Noorsen. Anderson Lewis Noorsen. Shelley Cares, Pedro Martinez Losa van Noorsen. smach in de skipping. Op is Narnaatjes of in de pool in de Spain. Larger is in. Stunima. Gewoon nou de Praia. Gaan hier de Gemini Schach. Over in de Spain. Joel, after Scotland's recent performances, beating Hungary and then just sort of toiling to the draw against Ukraine, were you surprised to see Hungary run out 4-2 winners against Ukraine earlier today? 3-0 up, I think, after about half an hour.
Yeah, I think so. I think from what I saw of Ukraine on Friday night, I was pretty impressed, especially in the first half. So when I saw that scoreline tonight, I was really surprised. But a scoreline that is very favourable for Scotland, of course. So yeah, although it was probably one we weren't expecting, it's one that was nice to see.
Clwysnoch Alexander, the love watcher, the gaming at the V. Corma Shaw has that. Galan Weir, and Baraveroik, Achgehasder, or a Fuchkish. Listen, Person, the guy Suher, Person, the gold who will look at that. That's an Bon Mati. It's not Nacho, Schlie, Geschach and the Bill, Crash Galore. Bartlett. Bon Mati. Mishka Bartlett, Still Hula Doherty, Gary Garash, Sophie Howard, Johnny Ma. Kamala Suler, Alexia Proteas, the Shinchan, the Cajach, Nache, Gunnevalde. Boyle within Castleshach. Should all at the Fiach in the Fatten Huel. Minded in the passage in the Patra and Bria, as Spanish Fiach and near the Bialu. That is the problem though, Joel. Scotland doing well, managing to break down that Spanish pattern of play, but Lee Alexander with absolutely zero option, but they head to halfway line and start all over again.
Yeah, it's always hard when you've got everyone so deep behind the ball. When you're looking to relieve that pressure and go long, there's no one to kind of go long to. So Lee done well there. There was nothing else on, there was nothing else she could do, but at the moment it is just waves of attack, and that will tell in the legs as the game wears on.
Going. Shachat with the toll, like Lee Alexander. The spine still nog een ploege kopper. Gewoon haast maar even nu. Op sterven gaan dan mee weer voor. Sophie Howard vindt Carmen Bahasha genoeg. She did well, Sophie Howard, Joel, when she came on second half against Ukraine.
Yeah, I like Sophie. I've played alongside her, been in the squad with Sophie, and she's a fantastic player. She's so receptive, and again, for me, a player that is thoroughly deserving of our start tonight, whether it be through injury or not. But Sophie's fantastic. She's absolutely solid. She's a rock back there, and yeah, she'll be thriving in this environment tonight.
Howard McLaughlin's Doherty through a suur en Ginny Shachas alleen. Gina Gallup, of course, and she a horse in the Ukraine. She's going to put it in the park. Doherty Lickelish. Rollemach. Joel, can I ask you to read, or to try to read Pedro Martinez-Los's mind a wee bit? Fullbacks the other night were Rachel Boyle and Chloe Arthur. Tonight it's Rachel McLaughlin and Nicola Doherty. Quite unusual to change both your fullbacks from one game to the next. Why do you think he's done that? Yeah,
it's a strange one. I think for me is potentially thinking about the Spanish threat on the wings. We've seen in the first parts of the game they're looking to kind of overload those areas, and both Rachel and Nick have...
Cormishaw. Joel Jurach start taplaatsen sunshine. Abby Harrison rash Junima in your falla valape. Can good he nan driplach. And driplach shachats havi kutiri game. And the ball machine get that. So if you heard gestat, you got Doherty for Impi. You can mach. I guess Galar shit. We'll hope that this goal kick doesn't lead to such a good chance again. We interrupted your train of thought. I mean, was it a sign that things did not go the way he wanted to with the fullbacks against Ukraine, or is this just a totally different challenge?
I think for me it's a totally different challenge. Both Rachel and Nick have a fantastic physical capacity. They can go box to box for 90 minutes, and I think that'll be potentially the reason for their selection tonight. It'll be appreciate that at times on the attack it'll be a counter-attack, so we need to get up and support quickly, but equally so if we lose possession we need to get back quickly. So I think for me that's potentially the reason why they've started tonight ahead of the fullbacks from Friday.
Rachel Boiler will want to hold Shagavi in the park. Arthur Iravenki. Shannon Jik. The spine of Lansbacher again. Get the Zalapu. Bashkahanik. Abby Harrison. William Iravacha Tarshin is in here minach. She Alapu. Ibucher in the span. She grew. Show here to her Velotion. Alapu Rivi as in the Hick spine. Rhys Evans. Caroline Weir. Staya. Ericsson Fach McCassin at Weir. The fall off Galapa Irish. Uyaro Arash, which I don't know what you can. Pereira is Paredes. Kennen we nu goed de courses Howard ik heel nillig in de vaar. Vijf uur wel het doen. Paredes Casilli no go badly. Ruim shot. Terugvallen we zijn. Ik wil toch die junne maar 15. Groen pas. Vastgelopen daaruit. Geven Cassis Schach. Is Robertson. Sadly Harrison G. is heel gelopen in gele. En lang 3 te lappen. Nu ik de Spaanse hier vallen. Wat je nog een Janima. Maar in de goede Wahabi. General Lish van de Agapete as well. Is het East. Niet pass aan in de Spaanse. Die kale ballen. Ruimte. Zo heb ik hier wat vluchtig is dat je hoort. Hoe is er live kliep. Peteas en East. En wie een tuurtje shot. Een klein jarak. Er is startle. Robertson van Scheuze weer wat te zien. Janima van Cassidy is a Robertson for Wimpy. I guess the third shot had Sue Vrip. And in the push getting me in. She's not complaining, Lisa Robertson, so she must be accepting that was a foul. But she's unlucky. She just comes under pressure just when Scotland are trying to break out. That she who gets the block in is equally important.
She's done well there. Again, an example of a Scottish player putting her body on the line and making a fantastic block. And yeah, I think Lisa accepted that foul against her. It was a heavy first touch, which resulted in a tackle there that's given the free kick. But again, a further example of players willing to put their bodies on the line, and Lisa doing well there as well.
Who was a boxer. Patrick Uyaro, Junior Mosso. He tells the guy in his spine. Palma Ferris. Go Ferris to goes in his spine. Stariegi, Huer, Dol, Archipal, Scania, Levounder, Klukkensjaar. Verder in de gauw niet. La Uahabi. Maar hier zie je gemaakt wel eens een vuurtjes van bal dat kokjaun hier of maar hier toe. Agus, u kan terugcheck, vijf het minutje. Dan gaat Spanje. Er hoort Scotland have been defending their box well, Joel, but just fall down here, but it's a fantastic ball in the box.
It is fantastic. It's inch perfect. As you can see, Rachel Corsie gets dragged out. She's the closest player, so she's had to press the ball. And naturally, you don't want your centre backs out there pressing the ball. You want them in defending the box. And unfortunately, it's just too high for Erin. And the Real Sociedad player gets on the end of it and finishes very well.
And that's, well, you never want to concede a goal, but having done well for pretty much the first 20 minutes, well, that's just disheartening for Scotland now, and it allows Spain to maybe just stave off any nerves that were maybe still in their system from having had the ball hit the bar a bit earlier.
Yeah, I think so. I think the most important thing now from a Scottish perspective is staying positive, remaining focused, and not letting that kind of affect how we're doing in our game plan, because up until this point, although we've not had a lot of the ball, we've defended well and created a couple of chances. So we just need to take heart from that and not let that goal affect us.
Cuthbert, dechrau leine, gyda'r Irash yn cario ymach. Nes egi, signal go Abby Harrison. Paredes, dechrau lain chlig o Mohabi, hwyr dod yn bal y siachar son y dweud. Siwt Bwtygyn ciar, mae'r ffas char jach a bwloch ffer yn irig a chaneg Lisa Roberts yn hig y bwloch. Sle pwchtig ar y hon, halab yn eistioch ar y ffysgol i bygan. Saregi yr eist. Batley. Yn modd y ffwchgys. Wn i sio. O, fa cor y mawn, hwyr. Lee Alexander, glaf y machsyn, Bon Mati. Aitana Bon Mati, y fiach yn ynod. Hannig sydd. Liliane fan the Talab in your shot. Queuing up at the edge of the box here, Joel, but there's definitely a divot here that Lee Alexander does well to deal with. The ball comes flying up.
Yeah, she's done well there to get a hand on it and touch it beyond the post, but that's come from a Spanish goal kick, so that just speaks volumes.
Corner in the spine. Howard to fall off. Shouldn't have finished. Joel, you're right, it came from a Spain free kick where there was a mistake. Scotland's pressure almost paid off. There was a slightly misplaced pass in midfield, and Lisa Robertson gambled. She thinks, I can get that, but she doesn't quite get it. And that's the danger, isn't it? You want to pressurise the mistake, you want to be ready to take advantage of it, but if you don't quite get it right, oh dear, suddenly you're under miles an hour back to your own goal.
Yeah, of course, and I think at first I thought they got the press right, but Spain managed to beat the press, and like you said, I think Lisa was caught in two minds. She went because she thought she could get it, and Lisa isn't blessed with pace, and I think she got caught in that area of no man's land, and Spain exploited that space out wide like they have been doing so far in the game, and they created an overload in that wide area, and like you said, they were queuing up on the edge of the 18-yard box to kind of finish that and get on the end of it.
Cuthbert. Chile go Lee Alexander. Another use Cuthbert's Evans. Expansion with a lovely shot at Bon Mati. Let's go on a Batley. Passing in there. Gewoon nach ro. Who's the fiscalization of Bon Mati Rish Guskele, Corum Shaw, Alexander Junimat, Corum has the spine. Alexander Erashko Kassin, Skippelt, Kurikas, Kenya Falov, Amoyor Saregi, Fiachnish and Darnhill, it's such composed play by the Spaniards just on the edge of the box and just inside the Scottish box, Joel.
Yeah, it is, and that's the Spain we all know and love watching when it's not against Scotland. They just kind of play the ball into players in between lines and pop it about, and that was a prime example of that.
That's in the air, good job, Maravinishin. Harrison, looking for Story, Caroline Weir, Jimmy G. Colfain from the Valish and the Husher from the league in the racket. Evans the third, Hamay, Gabby Harrison, Pulloch at that. Sean Kuchumarist, Richie, it Alapit. Alapis in the ancient Gala, the spine, it's the ancient Jaraka. Cuthbert. Goed je behoren mee in de park. Michel wat het je normaal. Vaak de Spanje, vier in de val eruit. Dat is vaak geen goede kassen niet. Het is wel Noorsen. Voor smeuïge voor de jaren ook Pedro Martinez los ik het aan. Dan wordt er Aschko Alexander. Aschko Howard. Ach, chicken eigenlijk is een Kalien de Lish. Harris in de vier ging. Er is een gammalig. Wel die vijf orde. Dan wat de eerste korm. In de Machlish. De Mach in de Spanje. We kunnen zo naar 4 minuten raken als je hier het leert. Wat bij haar is de vier misschien de master en het in de gamle naart. Spanje gevoeltje nog zo met de nieuw. Die had gamle ze. Vaar kijk goed joh. De mooie kastleeg. Nog week van de Kutje. De review uit de korm, maar dat is dat vind ik in een bepaald ander gelukje. Sevens, all mag er live. Jezus in de game is die eens Richard McLaughlin, de spoedelijk in de waal dat daar. Kuus in de vastkelijk in Spanje, Bonmati. Choltex, Viachin, Alexander. Fijn, Shears van online die schikken. Ik is het Bonmati Viachin die kuutlich en dus aan teulen hikken. In Spanje, ik in hier is het. Spanje nummer. They worked that really well down their left hand side. The Spaniards just getting the better of Lee Evans and Richard McLaughlin.
Yeah, they did. I think for me that was too easy. They got in behind far too easy. They've been doing that up until this point in the game, looking to create overloads in the wide area, and I think a combination of Rachel stepping to press and Lisa potentially not tracking that run allowed the player a lot of time and space in the wide area, and another ball delivered into the Scotland box.
Die bal kost op Bjorken Ries in Nijg. Gaan allemaal de Sevilla gaan doen voor Ries. Kun je de 7 morgen is een goed bedoeling. Laag en doel. 4 minuten in de schach. Dus weer een jaar. Alexander voor oorlog. Camille Sulis. Gemaakt het daar. Of course, te kunnen Bartleers in de galles. In het ik Alapischen. Ja, is de Marie is. Dat is skocht, dus ik wil hoe heb ik haar opbouwen. Dan weet de vader hier in Spanje daar is er. Alleen weer de finisher goed. Eentje op persoon. In de 50 stoffen. Guiaro. Gewoon lang geleden. Ik kan eigenlijk hoe ze het er op makkelijker had. Hoogkatje genie, kijk het daar. Ze hier gewoon een Parijsje van Roy misschien nog een voetjes. Normaal nog niet hier te. Als je kon zo voor je McLaughlin naar de Jentpin Kuchek Saregi. Vaak je het daar. Sophie Howard kunnen we ook risch. Magrisch. Met die hele jarak. Alappe. Schieder en Huimpachiger immer de vuur gejaagd. Welke gerirash! Oh, zalig scanne Lily Alexander. Gachritchie. Marione Caldentine, Jacques Schutters, Alexander, Getafeen. Lav and watch it at the Val the East. Cool for the Haas get that. Ruimus of Oxerish, Coram Chontig, Xariegi. Pass of Luke at the Hoping in the Lady Galdas of Luke is a game, Road, Spain has. If you have me passing through, but generation could you move all the Isha Chopatias really pass it Elvarak Miss Evans Fane Count I guess a cast of all the Hoshachut the new in the Spanish get that Patias Sarigi Chano Ferguson. This Alexander Givo could on a Fakora Fagal. Sophie Heard Cage of Yimi to the Cass. The Hurid. So you mach as a fire, Kishan. Jig the Gosh, the Galape. Howard Reach, a counter of Albanist. Caroline Weir, Fiachan Rish. The Ainge in a Hanegi Beloch. It's Chris Kavak at Alapushin. Van Balderiach in je mag Caroline Weir is in Fast Senior Miss Evans is Weir has the Viachan is nodig gegaan door Spanje. Riest op de plekje Magas. Werst. Oh, Apperto. Riest Varo Erst. Ja, Caldente hinter via de park. Ach, Apperto. Yechi, Appertol, the Huri, Shachat, Early Alexander. Yakinyoni, in Hispanchi, Mariona Caldente, the Shinar Natol in the game. For Spain. Well, of course, the Lanish Joel, it's a fantastic shot, it's a great goal, but she just rips through the heart of Scotland's midfield.
She does, it's a fantastic finish, like you said, but it's too easy, far too easy. Caroline tried, but failed to regain the ball there, and she just waltzed through the midfield, and I think Lee will be disappointed with that one. It nestles in midway into the net. I think Lee's potentially a few yards off her line there, but a disappointing goal to lose for Scotland indeed.
Well, Alexander gets a hand to it, and it's unfortunate she just gets a little bit, but she had made just a brilliant save a few minutes earlier just to keep the score at 1-0.
She made a fantastic save earlier. It was probably a shot she didn't see coming. It was just a fantastic reactionary save there from Lee. But yeah, a disappointing second goal to lose. And I think for me, we just need to try and get to half-time without conceding any more goals, because you saw as the halves wore on, the teams collapsing into the back line, which is inevitably inviting pressure. So for me, if we can get to half-time at 2-0, regroup, refresh, and go again in the second half, that's probably Pedro's game plan.
Robertson's Boyle, a gentleman door it. Geen de bal rash, agus gechama galap it. So hier Turris al op het. Dan drie vasting in de goeie goal. Van de Joe. Zo voor de haar en goed heen. Goed job. Die Sevens dat klaar in. Goed je hier in de negen gesproken. En dan gaat er een nerd en ik geschikt aan. Dan geliefde tolles in maar een game met tol. Zuiger her viaje kusho. Die nog het vallen worden. Hij is nul als je nu wel een schach. Again fall off. Caroline Weir and then Joel picking the red is this. Maybe some rubbish in a no hichte. And the Calden take Barcelona East. Keer game ik in dus gaan dat licht game. Gaan Spain Seattle kiezen. Goed op de fiets. Ze skippen je hond. Ik wil Coram Haas. Gaan het hier onder Patias schach krijgen. Hermoso. Chickerichit, Paredes, Chich op de fiets. Voorachke. Niet aan de fiets te nachten. Gyrach a Chin, hwn i chi richyd. Anad, sy'n gydirig y behe pwlach hast. Sa'n pachyntiach yn y wlad gwrcwchbyn y crynig. Sy'n dawn yn mynd presturus, yn y tlich gadr iawn fa. Tor triplet sy'n Paul Corsian y ban ys Sbaen. As na blion begin Mr. Go, hoor je wilde Harris. Door kunstbudget al met een goed jachtjes, maar wel wijntje in de kloeg erin. Dan mag ik huke. Koos niet je race, is ik ben Argentijn. Ach, van zuur hoor je wilde. Koos de wilde vioos gemoord, zal wat er nog is, kan haar de nevel. Van zuur Pedro Martinez Losas, coach, Spaantje. Ik door niet naar lappen heen. Paredes. Scotland's press, Joel, is definitely sort of predicated on Caroline Weir doing a lot of the work alone and then sort of waiting on the halfway line. Is it worth maybe trying to press them higher up in the pitch, given the pressure that they put on them earlier?
I think so. I think earlier on in the game, you saw that we got a bit of success when we put them under pressure. However, with that high press, it is very hard to do for 90 minutes, and it looks as if Caroline's pressing first, and then the players in behind are pressing off triggers. But like we said earlier, if we don't get that right, the threat then comes.
Yeah, I think if I suggested that to any of the players, I'd be getting a dirty look. You want us to do more?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be pressing. I wouldn't be pressing for you, Derek.
Corner against Spain. Alexander feint al lan vers Yemigi. Kuutje Shaw. Or a Fufkish. Oh, Harushin. Fat Semi Fala vooruit aan Bon Marti. Van nu in Jeegke. En dan Piach in de Schach 5 jaar en we goed gaan de corner. En Noschen gaan de lijn. Misschien gaan de zoekjes. Ik heb hier naast 3 in de 4 tisje. Na Feen ik hem de Fufkish. Gaat ik weer Alexander. Er Feen vast gewinnen. Er is een negatief. Dat is wel fantastisch. Schacht minuten in de waken. Als ik hier weer zo hou aan de Seville. Van Silver. Zoals meer in de park. It's a different task for the likes of Caroline Weir, Erin Cuthbert, Lisa Evans to some extent. And Abby Harrison playing wide on the left in a primarily defensive role. It doesn't matter where you are on the team sheet, your primary job tonight is to defend.
Yeah, it's a thankless task for all of those Scottish-based players out there tonight. And yeah, you're used to Erin Cuthbert seeing a lot of the ball, kind of dictating games and controlling games, and she's hardly been in the game tonight, and that just shows how much of a threat and how much quality Spain have in their squad.
I suppose that's why you try and play Caroline Weir as a false nine in the game, because in the hope that when she does get the ball, she can hold it, she can bring others into the play around her. But that's been really hard to do so far.
Yeah, it certainly has, and you're right, Derek. That's what we need Caroline to do in games like tonight. When you're looking to relieve pressure, go long, you're looking for a player of Caroline's calibre to hold that up, wait for that support, and kind of catch your breath, and then go from there and play higher up the pitch, because up until this point the play has primarily been in Scotland's defensive third.
Richard Corsi nog eens zilver op een. Gaan jullie fijn kaal je geta Mariona Caldente. Gelukkig na piacje. Als je er in de makketal in de Spaanse Caldente krijgt, gaat er een beetje kaal. Corsi is daar heen. Stoffelijk ja. Jenny Hermoso. Erwaardig. Kerashkwal. Alexander Guune gore. Kuutje Shaw. Spaanse geducht. Oh, Howard. Corm Shaw. Tall. Oh, merachtig al op. Toch het is Howard gakelach geheen. Fakelig hoor ik de Spaanse gesavukas. Agus een drestal. Kook minutes in Gauwem. Het dirige hier een drestal. Gaan in Spanje. Agus al op het laagje. Het gaat met Smussepuloch. Ik heb net hier hoe de wil gaan we Puloch eentje gaan. Kun je merken zo. En je daar ga je het zie je. Hij heeft weer de hand. a little bit of a breakdown in communication, Joel, between Nicola Doherty, Sophie Howard. I'm not sure either really knows where the ball is or who should be going for it.
Yeah, a breakdown in communication there led to both players hesitating. And unfortunately, the ball falls to the forward's feet there and finishes superbly. And I know all goals are preventable in some form, but certainly that was a preventable goal.
Lang weer Fiachin. Nee, niet Evans van de Mischkap. Fiachin is niet begonnen. Gaat het terug in die jacht. Evans is schenk weer. Het kan te wisten kaas. De gangen gelaten. Toen ik lief had. Kuur voor goed jongens. Hier het leek aan hem. Dat is mijn televisie nog goed gemaakt van de goal. En de scheert er schon niet aan. En de shot is kerer en nee kerer. Kogner en Kogner. En Boyle Chili, agus Bartley puchtiger uit Kujok. Abby Harrison en Ash Converu is Kujok. Bartley fehur roosat voor Bon Mattia. Fehur reunen ervalde Kujok. Abby Harrison Junema. Ik zit er Ashkelly Alexander. Agus Alape. Het tweede keer is een dier gemaakt. 3 minuten in de goal. Robertson. Dat is een Mandalisa Robertson. Dat hij niet mag ruinen is. Terug weer de Nicola Doherty. Nog de Rashke Seriegi. Zie je hier is Sophie Howard het in de market daar. En Cassis Jacher. Ik weet niet wat betekent wie hockeyar het goed gemaakt van de goalmachine. Corner de neig in de Spanje. Linie is bien. Corner nog en Nicole corner bien. Nee. Dus ik kan naar van de casting, maar dan kan ik de reden in je gemaakt. Is de boel eentje. Spanje via gaan moeten kunnen. Symbolię Grycie. Dziś zijn halapni, als je mag eens even. Raymond Graves, voor een vat af. Maar Sariegi, Valmeri, Sitchinis Chacher, Klugidrik, Real Sociedad. Jim de Fostois, vind ik jou onder. Voor Waverishin, maar waar. I think we focused on that, thinking Scotland should have had a goal kick off Mariona instead of the corner, but maybe the Spaniards think it should have been a penalty off Lisa Robertson.
Yeah, they're looking for another penalty there, but although Lisa's hands weren't in a natural position, they were certainly in her body and close to her body. So again, for me, it's a no penalty.
The 3 goals, there's never a good time to concede goals, but they've come at bad times, just after 20 minutes, just after the half hour, and then just 4 or 5 minutes before half time. It serves to leave Spain comfortable and Scotland kind of chasing their shadows a bit.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think at 2-0, you're always kind of in the game, and one goal gets you back in the game. However, at 3-0, it is an uphill kind of battle and climb. And yeah, I think Scotland will hope to regroup at half time and go into the second half, first and foremost, looking not to concede further, but looking to see what they can get out of the game in terms of a goal or putting in a better second half performance.
Weer, gaat je eruit. Lekian, je shit, zo meer geweest. Ik denk dat ze hier haal aan de Seville. Spanje, voorstel. 3 keer hier Hoshach en de halappe ik leeuwje. Natuurlijk was Saregi, waar Mariana Caldente is voor. Aitana Bonmati. Spanje, terug. Rovatte galappe, get de boel Abby Harrison in een match in Taschen. Kuchok is a 2 minutes and Hapuri Shanane Shach, the bigger with the Shach. Cook a fish, the bigger Tahurst, and Miguel Aperi over Hoshach. Blionderen voor Heil Hispanchich Tol. Dan Hal Tol Raast. Gagaritsmi. Dus Quadri Nimbersten Aljantin. En dan lappen er zo'n balkosje in de baan. Ze gaan niet in huis. Het vindt niet doen.
Leatí spar future stars and copártegus achcha cáladí common balcóis na halapa. Is yet a beacon the clownian is budden the cabrostnicha, goose balcóis iaching.
We're absolutely delighted to extend our partnership with SPAR. SPAR is all about working in the girls and women's space, trying to grow participation. We had the SPAR Futures Cup last year, which was a programme for 12 to 16-year-olds in school. Unfortunately, it was a wee bit COVID disrupted last year, but we saw sort of great engagement from the girls and the numbers that we saw in that programme, and that partnership is just really important for us to help grow participation. So it targets age 12 to 16-year-olds, so that's an area that's really important for us. We're seeing a lot of growth in the younger age groups, sort of 5, 6 and 7, but retaining those girls when they go into secondary school and into their teenage years is something that's really important. So partnerships like this with SPAR, where they go into the schools and engage the girls in that environment, that really encourages them to stay involved. It's a nationwide partnership, so we do some regional activity and then it comes together and culminates in national activity, and we're anticipating hundreds of girls will participate over the next few years. We're here tonight at Hamilton. I think they've got over 120 girls. All of their age groups are here tonight, from their under 9s and 10s right up to their senior team. But that's replicated across the country. We have clubs now that have that pathway for girls to come in of all abilities as well, and that's important that any girl of any ability level can go into our local club, enjoy football and continue to play football through into our adulthood. So yeah, it's really important and a really exciting time for the game.
Has and dagens can be program and marsha a cymel dunya is as spars like either art. But around the hadman is corman a lootige, out the bleenish in a gallop.
It's huge. Obviously, we really want to make sure that we're driving participation levels, and it starts all the way down at grassroots, especially at the kind of age groups where probably teenagers, that's the kind of age where girls tend to drop out of sports. So can we get it out there? Can we give opportunities to young girls to go out, see it, enjoy it, and come along and come again, really? That's the kind of main thing, is to come and enjoy it, but to make sure that the opportunities are there and to get the girls back in again.
It's vitally important. I think we know that, and it's important that we have the sponsors make it possible that there's visibility for all football. It's not just about seeing the Scotland national team or seeing senior squads. It's about making sure that girls from all ages can see that it's an opportunity for them to play and be involved.
We are fortunate that we've seen a lot of growth in terms of the numbers participating in football, but the numbers for me reflect that we're doing something right in terms of the quality of what we're delivering. So whilst we look at the numbers and we're satisfied that those numbers are going up, it's all about the opportunities that we provide. So that's why partnerships like this with SPAR are so important, because they provide opportunities for particular demographics that we know that we really want to target, and that investment really helps us provide those extra opportunities and helps us grow the number of girls participating.
Ha bachgi in own house the who fast is lessig sports in ban. Ach, ha urtus gagiano.
There's always still barriers in terms of participation. We know that economic barriers exist in particular areas, and that's why when we run programmes we always try and look and make sure that we put investment into the right areas and make them as accessible as possible. There's also that perception issue, and that's something again where the visibility of the game is really important, because we want girls and their parents to think that football is something that girls can do, should do, and something that's a really positive thing for them to participate in.
For the continuous development, it has to be money. I think funding is a huge part of it. Visibility as well. Can we get media outlets out to national team games? Can we get more so girls can actually see at the highest level? Can it filter then down? But I think the biggest thing is always going to be sponsorship deals. Can we get the funding there to continually make the game grow here in Scotland?
Yeah, it's growing. And I think it's grown at a fairly quick pace. So again, it's great to see there being additional support, resources, finances, funding being found to enable it to keep going in that direction. I think there's still a huge amount of growth still to happen, which is a good place to be too, but it's good for us to recognise that there has been a lot of progress made, and just, you know, programmes like this, allowing younger players to play, the more we can do that, the more chance we have of improving our national team and improving club programmes, and that ultimately will help itself grow year after year too.
Leis go láidir a há líg na bana drásta an na nálapa, a sin na tór taich an bhí a léisige cluichitrin, le bara corman cluiche, do chlánia is bod a nich.
We have to maximise that all the time, and again, I think that's an area where we have to grow quickly. I think for too many years, you know, Glasgow City probably led the way almost on their own, and over the last few years we've seen a number of sides develop their women's programme, not just at senior level but also grassroots and younger age groups too. But I still think we're behind there. I still think there's a lot of work needs done, and there are resources there. It's about people making sure that they're known about and that they're available for everybody.
The biggest thing is if you don't know what's out there, how are you ever going to know that you can play? And for a lot of girls that are in the national team, myself included, we didn't necessarily have those opportunities. So for now, for it to be open to all age groups now is huge, and particularly for girls at secondary school, it can be a time where they may choose to go down other avenues, and for us it's huge to make sure we just get participation levels in, and we try and stop the dropout at that age. There's so much more in place for young girls. It's all organised. It's not a case that you just turn up and hope that there's going to be players that's going to play on your team. So, you know, it's massive, and that's all that, if we can try and help drive that, it's huge. Of course, I'm definitely all in to try and promote and make sure that the Scottish game is constantly growing.
I've been involved my whole life in women's football, so as a player, and then latterly with Scottish women's football, and now with the Scottish FA, and I can say this is the most exciting time I've ever been involved in the girls and women's game at all levels. So participation, we're seeing huge growth across the board, but at the elite level we're seeing our clubs invest in a really competitive top league. So across the board, it's undoubtedly for me the most exciting time I've ever had in the girls and women's game.
As someone who's been involved in the game and known a lot of the players who are in the current national team and playing senior football in this country, I think we've taken a lot of responsibility over the past years and continue to do that to make sure that things like this do exist. And so whenever we're asked to do it, I think we're always really keen, and it's, as I say, it's great, and the more that these can happen, the better.
Leis go bhfuil a géim a fás, ha cuid munis ga chuid idir bhí a deanú cínteach go bhfuil pácósin na bhandi éiching, gus cluichetar an áca a bhrosnachach.
It's rare that you actually take time to reflect back, but when you do, you realise just how far we've come in terms of the number of girls that are playing, the opportunities at different levels to play more locally, looking at our top league, just how visible that is now. Young girls have got role models here in Scotland, and if you're a young girl that's maybe taking part in the Spar Futures Cup, that young girl has that opportunity to play recreationally her whole life as a player, but also may become an elite player and represent our country one day. So I think that opportunity to also be a professional player now exists, and that's something that we hadn't seen. You know, even 3-4 years ago there weren't many professional players, so the game's just changed beyond all recognition over the past 4 or 5 years.
I think as someone who's passionate about making sure the sport grows, who obviously grew up largely playing you know, this level of football and not having maybe access to these types of things, I think it's great to see that that is now the case, and we want to make sure that young girls and boys can see it and have aspirations to go on and have a career, however successful that might be, or however they want that to look. So yeah, I think it's great, and I'm glad that, you know, both myself and Lee could be here tonight and be a part of that.
Yeah, it's certainly going further and further away from what it used to be. Certainly when I was younger, we're into certainly a much more professional league set up. Most of the teams are almost fully pro, and I think that's huge. You want to make sure that you have the kind of visibility for younger girls looking forward to know that that can be a full-time job for young girls. We've certainly got a little bit to go, but the most important thing is having these kind of sponsorship deals and initiatives that can only try and drive the game and drive participation.
Ha skippen yn banna galapa y drast y farbus yn ymys Jerevir son cwpyn y crynia, ys yet a gamasid arches yn arbus y ring y ddiist. Ha cho cwtramachers on unwe game gyfil at y nochgag ac na farbus yn môra.
It's a big target for us, so within our strategy, one of our targets is to qualify consistently for major tournaments. Firstly, we think our players deserve that opportunity. We believe in them and we think they belong on the world stage from a performance point of view. But the other side of it is we know that it encourages participation when young girls see these role models live on television, watched by 6 million people in major tournaments. It inspires young girls to want to play football, and that's so important. But having that connection, that those role models are people that they can see in real life, they can come to Hampden. The players are really great at engaging with the young players, the young kids as well that come to watch. So all these things are really important in terms of the visibility of the game and encouraging girls that football is something that they want to aspire to do.
There's a new ambition being sort of placed over the squad, not in an individual capacity, but as a general sort of principle that we have to develop the game and we have standards that we want to push, and it should be a challenge to be selected to play for your country, and when you're here you should be pushing barriers all the time to try and improve the squad and try and hit the targets that we have, which ultimately this time are qualification for a World Cup. So I think really that. I think there's just this excitement, but also a feeling of wanting to just do it as well as we possibly can, which is obviously something that a lot of the players really thrive on. So hopefully, you know, it leads to some success. It's difficult when you have a new manager come in for lots of reasons. You know, there's a different pressure. People really want to impress. People want to be involved, and often that brings a lot of good things, but there's obviously, when there is pressure, there's always the chance that things don't go as planned. But I think you can see from how we're trying to play and the things we're trying to do that we're really trying to come together to do as well as we possibly can and make this a successful campaign. I think when you look how difficult it is to qualify through Europe to make a World Cup, it's extremely hard. There will be top sides who won't make it, and so to do it 2 consecutive years, especially if you base it off ranking, you know, that would be considered a really huge achievement for us. So we very much believe we can do it. We're passionate about what we're doing. We believe in each other as well as the process, and so that puts us in good standing, and it's about delivering results ultimately, and that's, you know, going to be up to us on the day.
Thinking from when I was a young girl, I never thought it was possible, if I'm being fully honest, to ever play for my national team, let alone represent at a World Cup, and to be able to have that and to have that visibility for young girls, I think would be incredible. We've obviously seen how good a buzz it's been in Scotland since the men have obviously qualified for their tournament, and I think that can only help us, and if we can try and push on and get that next qualification, I think it will be huge for the country.
In Aginjalach, a fan stuur agus Carlia van de Ginjalach der Runnakin aan de Belkasje van de Malappe. Hij gewoord en gegurre weggehaald aan de Seville gedap. Joel Murray has corner ruimte. Joel, the game started with a good chance for Spain, but the best chance of the first 5 minutes fell to Abby Harrison. There's not much more she could have done, really, given the challenge and the keeper putting her under pressure.
No, I don't think so. I think she anticipates it well. She gets there quick enough, albeit I think she thinks the defender will get there ahead of her, and she gets a good connection, and on another day that finds itself in the back of the net.
And although Scotland managed to pressurise Spain a little bit into a couple of small mistakes at the back, really as the half wore on, the Spanish pressure, the Spanish composure in the ball began to tell. Whole series of corners resulting in that first goal. But this second goal was a really cool one to lose.
Yeah, the second goal there, we spoke about it earlier. Rachel Corsie gets dragged out of the box. You're looking for your centre-halves to defend your box, and the box is heavily populated, but all of the Scotland players are ball watching and don't see the Spanish player running off the shoulder and getting on the end of the ball.
They scored that excellent long-range shot after having too much space, and then this happens, doesn't it, when you're under constant pressure. Just the mistakes come in, you get tired, you don't do what you need to do.
Yeah, I think the poorest thing in that scenario there is communication and the lack of it, because communication, in my opinion, is the easiest thing to do on a football pitch, and it's quite evident that wasn't there, and that then led to hesitation and a goal for Spain.
3 changes in the back four tonight. Sophie Howden and Nicola Doherty, two coming in. It's maybe the case that they're not particularly familiar with playing alongside each other, but also the case that they are under a huge amount of pressure tonight. Spain, just constant possession, constant probing around the box.
They certainly are, yeah, and at times Scotland are a back 6 with Abby dropping so deep that it often looks like she's a fullback, and equally so Lisa Evans on the opposite side. But yeah, the defence, albeit there is 3 changes there, they're ample players. There's quality players in there, and they're more than they're more than able to be on the pitch tonight.
Fresh legs for Scotland, Joel. Christy Murray coming on there, Grimshaw and Graham as well also coming on. Caroline Weir going off. Interesting to see who else is going off here. Fresh legs is no surprise. Perhaps as well, no surprise, maybe Caroline Weir coming off has not really worked. Perhaps her playing that false nine position, she wasn't really able to affect the game. Abby Harrison also having gone off, having had a hard shift on the left hand side.
Yeah, we spoke about it off air, about the need for fresh legs in a game like this, in a game where you don't have a lot of ball possession. So it's no surprise that there are 3 changes, and certainly no surprise that Caroline's went off. She's done a power of work up there, a thankless task, but we didn't see the best of Caroline Weir tonight just because we didn't have enough of the ball.
Narnia ma Ertoshach. Alapel 3 achrangin in in Spanchich Maravat. Toshach game Jenny Hermoso. Chluch Tranavian ik na Geisen. Is maar currency. 4 Hoshach game, dat er op zoek is, het beetje op forse goed. En die lien niet geheenig. Rein Spanchich schon gef pain 3 tussen der Hischu as ich hier ja. Naskip geschare se boin Jeravi Achke. Alapel tira gejirig. In Spanje, 3 punten, got 2 punten in Spanje. Ik heb jaar more dat er daar skipping is niet in Niger. Alappe Kujun, 3 is in Oekraïne. Ik heun je wel. Al punten is in Oekraïne en je kouders en donkere. Maar zijn omdat je van de Spanje, er punten wat je eigenlijk weer woord. Maar in Spanje kunt heel goud als ze boeien. En de keer kom ik een keer tegen de show. I guess de kniet ochtel tje gericht. Goed, als de kook keer ik hem geleerd. De plakelor hebben ze houden ze wel tussen Celsius nummer 1. Hier gaan ze een palkosje. De vaak ik toch een machine kamen. Palkosje in Spanje komt klevage ook het. Christy Murray van New Zealand stay. Als je kunt er nog geven. En hier is je bal tussen in de Spaantje. Dat je de goal goed. Zoals je Christy Murray het er een wienje. Die shake. Die zullen zuurder wel genoeg glijden. Grimshaw. Oh, kust de Vjarnish in Paskanja. Bal Kullersdag. Mitchell Corsi Genemaketa. Normaal haast de Ries, Veneke. Mitchell McLaughlin. Gelieveketa. Zullen de Guusje de Gasseen in de Walde. Ach. Ries er Gaskische Gorner. McLaughlin Genema. Jontex van de kaas gunnischen. Dan zie ik de Spaantje in de goede genevier. Maar jongen, ik ga dan tegen wel. Via gaan ze wel heen. De goal is een rasje genevier. Ik er al op een goede rasje genevier zelf. Murray. Foi bir een vuurtjes van die merk ik gaan houden. Hermoso. Murray gaat nog 20 jaar water walen. Antoine van de skipper. Vuurtjes zo haastig. Die enige raken ze weer een. Dus je riest het weer niet raken moet je de gleeg. Zijn pattern game lucht. Maar we zagen wel wat de Christy Grimshaw nu maakt het daar fijn. Kas. Gunnischen, zijn ene mag geriest. De corner, en Cuthbert de wou nog goed zo rasch in de wien. Dan is de Spaanse geriest, die prep finish, is aan tucht door. Zo Corsi en Chigorstein. Fuchsi Shocha or a Fuchis, Alexander Tokovar, Aristata de Bialugata, Serish and the Spanish Kerain. The Fiach is a lady June after coming out of the Fuchis. Guyaro. Hermoso. Doherty, Walchik, Garchachat or a Fuchis, and Yurikashinian. Horri Shimbal in your Halavs, high up in the patch into the set. Matifin picking the room in. Cuthbert, you see, larger than upon the tee. Machko. Set the shaft to Galapa. That's been a heavy spell of pressure Scotland have endured the first 5 minutes of that second half. A bit of luck, a couple of mistakes, but they've done pretty well there.
Yeah, they've done well to come out of that spell there, as you say, a lot of pressure there. I think Rachel Corsie going down in the box after that contact. I don't know if that was a little bit of cramp or an issue with her calf, so hopefully she's fine going forward.
Sophie Howard, Jenny Matt, Swedish Gleva, Doherty Kujok, Jenny Gleva. I was a fine. Brooke Macht to go up it. Half time, or sort of halfway through the game, is pretty early to be feeling cramped, but it is kind of reflective of the intensity of the work Scotland have had to put in around their box.
Yeah, I think regardless of the minutes on the clock there, the intensity and the tempo that Scotland have played at, they've defended well. I think if it is cramp, it's certainly no crime, but yeah, you're looking and hopeful that Rachel will be able to kind of continue and stay on the pitch, because it's games like these that you need your captain, you need your leader to drive your team on and drive your team forward.
Skipper the spine, Paredes, Gechorimach, Caroline Chlies, Gainer Ash, Riest. Through to Chluider na Halapi, Fiach and Michelle Ash, for Caldente, actually. But a loiner, yeah. Putting it in Roipe. Through the Nish goes at the Gamster Caldente again. For Richard Corsie, Doy Hurricane. Corsie in the ball, the Mach van the Kulkata. I guess the Vira Pennisockel. There's an Shinlika Shachet Gata, Skipper and Halapit. The Spaniard goal courage. Corsie's Kacha Machache. Hermoso Sevien. Howard the ball in the Falava. Saveling that. Lee Alexander. Mariona Caldente Riche, Usheneur, Caroline Chliek, Lee Alexander, around Matt. It's inevitable with the ball in the box so often that it's going to be falling to Spanish players around the edges, as it seems to. Lee Alexander must see that pretty late.
Yeah, it's an incredible save there from Lee, but again, the Spanish player getting too much time and space in the box to take a touch and then pick her shot.
In the middle of his own. Stick it in the shop. AC Milan, the vein. Hunnishin, Haburi Kelly and the action to that. Oh, tall Lily. Oh, Christy Murray, who had a cast finishing, or something in the Humble of Mahtoy, a hurricane. Pamichevich, Dro Alexia Puteas and Shinnichuri Shach, Balam Dor, Reid, Happy and Toe Lane, you know. Ach, Christy Murray, Farrell Line. Oh, there's some who are Shinnemach. She's not got the longest legs on the pitch, but they were just long enough there to get that off the line. Yeah,
you're right. She was in the right place at the right time, and I was waiting for the net to ripple, but Christy showed fantastic agility there to get her foot on the ball and clear it off the line.
She's inherited Caroline Weir's sort of tough shift up there as the focal point of a front three, as it were. But she's going to be just as important defending as she is up front.
She certainly will, and she can do that. Although we're looking for her to give us that length and give us that out ball, she has the ability to make those recovery runs and do as much defending as she does attacking. She's a ball of energy, and she'll certainly be thriving and relishing this challenge tonight.
ach chluiche bar éid an Christ America UK géide. Spain frysgol gynnu hi'n gael ben yn y laeth chlir eist. Spain dyn yma. 3 minutes in the shach in the big test duel for Scotland tonight, and for the new Spanish coach wanting to impress against his own home nation. Do you think Pedro Martinez Lopes is still looking for his strongest side to know what 11 he wants to pick?
I think so, and I think that shows in not only his starting 11s but his squad selections to date. There's not really been that consistency, albeit there has been a few injuries, but there's certainly been no consistency, and I don't think he actually knows his best starting 11. For me, a player that consistently gets overlooked is Hayley Lauder at Glasgow City. She's probably, in my opinion, she's the best player in our league. She's a player that, if you're playing against City, you always kind of identify her as their main threat. And for me, Hayley should be and has the qualities and the capabilities of being in this squad.
Spain, de unieke rol. De tafel op een eentje. Search in de parken. En een lijn glijden. Zo'n boiler ash. Via miskippelig. Geen verladig. Had durf de galappen. Zo gaan we in hier zitten. Zit in Cuthbert de Valnetje de gas van de goal. Kun je hem zo via een machine naar een shotje die gaat in de Spanje. Viang. Hermoso. Gegammel. Via nog eens Carmeni heen naar de Rasje Junsi. Pereira Noorsen. Paredes is handen ka hoekelen is. Siglische Spanje Chien. Shot eruit de galappen en de fijne mag van een jaar niet. Is there enough pressure on the ball here, Joel?
Probably not, but I think that.
Potato is tight. Oh no, tel! Tel aan. Hashin. Maar hou, gezellig. Schokrate. Zich huwsjen. Alexi Potato is happy. Tel een. Ach, het ballap is dat. Ach, ik kan houden. Een bal er was, ja. Spikken jenig naar Bigli Alexander. Van Vierakach. Seriega hoe het al, ik kan houden zullen mee. Ach, bij Mitchell Corson's kaart. Zit op Vierakach. My own question to you, Joel, was probably as in a place in time as any Scotland intervention there, but they do so well, they nearly keep this out, but is the pressure just beginning to tell here people are making just little mistakes, little errors, trying to do things that they just can't get away with?
Yeah, I think so. I think it stems from having no pressure on the ball. We're all watching, waiting for something to happen, and the ball comes into the box and Corsi gets turned too easily there, and against Spain, you can't afford to take 2 touches in the box, and Sophie tries to do that and unfortunately gets punished. But yeah, another unfortunate goal to lose.
It's kind of a similar pattern to the first half as well. It's, you know, it's been hard for the first 13, 14 minutes of the second half, and eventually pressure tells.
Yeah, it certainly does, and again, like we said, you can't afford a team like Spain that time and space on the ball, because they will punish you and penalise you. And they're a team that can not only see passes but execute them, and unfortunately they've kind of split us open there and got the 4th goal.
Corsi, ik ga nog door hoor en sturen uitlich. Rachel Corsi, Jenny Magarius, if you can there behind. Well, Carson Nahiaki. She who could hurt that. She groeit gehoord kan er in heen. Chrogiúr Hirsch Callan such a word na Huki Ekata Spanos Ferisco Nisha in ball the hook out. Bjorn got a lot of ice to Spain. Howard, Jenny Martian. Cormisho. Chanyer, Shachkel. Sandra Panos, Rovadamach, Veravolik, Savai. Sweeter keeper, Jenema, can Spain. Doherty, Chilling, Chontek. Oh, Shachter Howard, Bonmati has, Little, oh, Bassar Hulk of Yaum, Alexander in the Statketat, Dahuris, Bonmati reached, Bonmati, Jenny Has, Duris, I guess, Spain, Corkignoni or Hojoch. Hapuri Kalevarach, Nashin Yanu, Lee Alexander. Bonmati, event daar voor hem. Van je event voor hem in Kilio Kujo. Agus, Spain, Giroch. Ik was het er vanaf. Er al op een No wonder that Lee Alexander is beating the ground in frustration. She manages to pull up 2 great saves, but the chances keep falling for the Spanish players in the Scottish box.
Yeah, a frustrating night all round, but I think for Lee, very frustrating because I think she's actually played very, very well, pulling off 2 fantastic saves in the build-up to this goal, but that's absolutely frightening from Spain. The ability to kind of dance in between defenders there in such a tight space is absolutely frightening, but yeah, another disappointing goal to lose from Scotland, and I think the weary and tired legs are telling now.
She won't be feeling it at the moment, but I think Lee Alexander will be pretty proud of having robbed on Mattia of a worldie there, because that was going to be some goal if Lee Alexander hadn't pulled off the first save. Yeah,
I know, she came off her line very, very well and reduced the space, and unfortunately the third attempt went into the back of the net, but again, I think everyone can hold their heads high tonight, but Lee Alexander, more so than anyone, she's had a fantastic game in my opinion.
Back in July 2017, Joelle, Scotland beat Spain 1-0 in Deventer. Caroline Weir scored the goal that wasn't quite enough to take Scotland through. Spain went through to the next round of the European Championships. I'll pick that up just in a second. He can machas a shot. Tarshin. But the mach of his own Lee Alexander. So at that point, Scotland were on a par with Spain to some extent. Spain maybe had the better of that game, but in the 3 and a bit years since then, 4 years since then, things have gone very differently for the two countries. I mean, you wouldn't want to say where has it all gone wrong for Scotland in comparison, but where is it going right for Spain? So right for Spain.
Yeah, you're right. I don't necessarily think we fell away at all. I actually had a prime seat for that game, watching from the bench, and yeah, I can echo your words there. We weren't miles off it. We won, but I don't think Spain were miles ahead of us in that game. But I don't know if it's the culture in the Spanish leagues domestically. Are they introducing players to more technical aspects at a younger age, meaning that when they get to that elite level, they're more comfortable on the ball with both feet? I don't know, but traditionally that is the style of play that the Spanish bring, whether it be male or female, and they must be doing something right, because both kind of male and female teams are doing fantastically well at the elite stage.
Shot to Jenna Marie, she is a live clear, Corm shot, Tal Willet, Hoferist, Roerist, I guess she Ballon d'Or in the raid, Haile Tol in the Nahalape in you, Alexia Puteas, Spain, je kunt niet zeggen, Puloch, Hoshach, Alape, I guess Hoferist. Keer gemmich in gele, raske koe gemmich hier nicht. Daichet tol agus a hoon. As a buin der aviachke. That's now over 40 goals in nearly 5 games in the qualifying campaign. There's no doubting Spain are a good side.
Yeah, and we've spoke about it pre-game and all game. They're a top quality to side, and if you get and give them that time and space and allow them the ability to get around you and in behind you, they'll do what they've just done there and score well.
I'll finish Matt. as y ffwcus i Sbaen. Boyle, dolch yn loene. Spain corner. Hier corner gen Jesker, dy gael apyn, mis mamach eine. Corus yw'r hydje y siach yn y games. Manager yn Sbaen. Jorge Villa, y gwlwchwch. Gis yn y clwyd yr ynil a da un ffer y feingi. Carmona Cheachke. Andres yn teulu yn sylwi. Hys yn cywys eid y gael ap yn hwrn a sio gwal. Yn halachus y gyreitir y. Ydy a tachart at y Christy Grimshaws cach y gyffos daw. Tashin. Wat ik jou, ach, op de vier naar binnen schach. Eigenlijk is Spanje dan niet aan het aangerogen. Ivan Andres, maar hoe is mee? En is Olga Carmona Chile. Falava, Kuyara Vakui. Gemaakt niet meer in de park. Kuyara Rofus, terug ik hier aan de 100 Carmona. Ja, is een. Ja, de park in stenen van zie je. Hoe heb je het alweer? De groei hier toe van de Spanje. Well, big scores are they're not an unknown thing in the women's game at this level in international games, but we're seeing some big ones tonight. Scotland losing to Spain, at the moment Norway putting 9 at least against Armenia. England putting 20 goals on Latvia is going to get a lot of people talking. Is there too big a gap between some of the nations who are being placed together in groups for qualification?
I think so. It will certainly get people talking, but talking all the wrong things. The 20-0 is absolutely ridiculous. However, it's not just the women's game we're seeing that in. There was similar discussions.
Sure, Spain, East, Gigarash, Ikamach, go, proportion. But pretend that didn't happen to them.
There was similar discussions when England recently had quite a high scoring game in their qualifying campaign. Yeah, that's correct. So it's across both male and female, but yeah, for me it doesn't show a great and true reflection on the game itself, because there is fantastic quality on the pitch, but I think we need to think about how we position and how we place these teams against each other.
Tuurtje kleine jarak east, stuurtje haast, toch weer op buurtjes, gatuurtje, gaat mij al op het halve. Zonder plezier weer wat een eentje, aan Spanje erbij. Veel kan krogen als je schaks. En dan hin mag ik kieter Alexander, het je mag Sven de Waalden en de Waalden, Shisa, voor iedere game nu te gaan op het kindje. Gaat er een kusje in het kind in de Shia terug, dan ga je schakelen. Sevens Kager. Fisker, vatten Irviachke, een mooie gênant ze wil. Dan gaan we elkaar op de stok in het park. Karstboeien zo, wel. Ik die hier. Met de beker, als je niet hebt het stok bij. Big game gitaar, game more vision. City naar Celtic, als City naar Celtic, koers hier nog. Kuch beliegen halappen. Maar is happen ze zien. That must hurt, Joel. Sorry to rub it in, but it must hurt in the League Cup final coming up and who's not being in it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were saying there, Derek, but I heard big game and I just switched off. So yes, it definitely hurts, because as a club we want to be in these games and cup finals. So not to be involved on Sunday is disappointing, and it definitely hurts.
Are you going to be raking the leaves up in your garden? Or
I think I'm busy, yeah, so I'll probably miss the game.
I think it's 4 minutes to go. Jenny Chisholm was an hour ago, and Jane Ross. Fehwer Fufkish. Junior Musso. Is just daarna, just de voters en ballen door de pleon ze. De TS wil niet kijken, like. Hoe gaat het met wel? Hij is hier niet scherp voor het in je vastkoren. Vier Musso waar ik de jou. Howard de Castellchache voor de Millenhaas de Spanje. Het valt af, Schatchache gaat. Spanje die is gehokken. Toch die kus wil je niet die heen zijn. Je maakt je nog een gauw. Ik heb haar wat er hoort zeggen te missen. Gaat de vara, weer het terrasje. Geen mischat waar het hart. Evans er al een beetje hier toe er kuisen het uskelijk pakken te gelappen. Dat is daar neer zo. Evans over een paas. Rash ga je Boyle. Oh, bal na van Christy Marit dat geen Rash wel. Kunt u licht gericht. Kijk eens aan. Vorm gehaald Riche alappen. Skilla. Maar ik zet het eens begin. Eerst van wat cheese toch weer na alappen. Just like. Just a wasted opportunity for Scotland, but just petering out slightly named in their first sort of decent spell in the Spanish half.
Yeah, it was unfortunate there. I think that was the right ball from Rachel. I think Christie looked to go in behind, however she's just checked her run and decided she's wanted it to feet. But yeah, a decent spell in possession of the ball, but now back to defending in our own final third.
Of course, she'll fall off. Spanje, gewoon letterlijk een rietje is. Dat doen we in de buurtjes met de SSIA. Als je wint, moet ik in het. Check, had ik even juist een nosje. Ik zal de kochen wel eens SSIA. Als ik Lini Garak als een buurtjes. Lini Garak vastgetjes en passen. Maar dat pakt de goal niet. De sport penish. Yes, schakelt er vast voor Hermoso. Wesley Alexander. Het je mag. Kunnen alleen die schijken als een genie. Weet je er wel nog een gleeg van de wereld. Beetje McLaughlin, Kakerum, Klochne Park. I guess Jane Ross het al te gelappen naar Haatje. Haar er eentje nog eens in. Nicola Kus Jiffer te gelappen, zijn hier in Niche. Genoeg, Christy Marie, Puchen, Steunen, Seregi, het alweer. Hij is Esther González het junior. Keertol Chiek en de goede game Chiek. In Spanje, Esther González. En die dan, hè. Seregi, de huur. Nu niet daar, jij weet het. Zit de Noordpik, junior Moesotje, dat schakelt er vast. Schamen is een Chiek, die golf. Corsi, mag Couturity. Jean Ross, Thomas in hier toe. Filipe in de Spaantje. Sefijn staat de Schach er gewoon. Bekken de spionneguur is Schach. Dat is een nimmerstuk. Al laat ik een eens toch. Van de Lane van der Sonne hebben we al behouden aan de Seville. Hier, dat is een 9 miljoen. Dus eigenlijk hier geen balkers op de national drie hebben we al. Aan de kaart dat er al wat is sassen. Ik wil nog een game met dat luchtje dus Spanje in de halve nog. Zo de Spaantje in de halve niet hier met luchtje. Dat ik iedere il in de Spaantje zo. To the binnenste. Dat is de Marie Gieswijk is in vijf meer in de park. Well, it's not that Spain don't have stars. They've got fantastic players. They've got the best players in the world, officially. But they're a unit. Similarly to what we saw with the men's team for Spain, maybe sort of 10 years ago. They're a unit who work so well, so cohesively together.
They certainly are, and I think a lot of that cohesion and ability to kind of work and play together comes from the fact that tonight's starting 9 of tonight's starting 11 are players of Barcelona.
Daarom is toch hè. De goede in Barcelona, de Chile. Kijk hier haast. Alexander is kimber hoe die kast genishen. Ali Alexander is Mirabelli Alexander big double figures or shot. We get the corner J.K. She has kept the score down magnificently tonight, Lee Alexander.
Another incredible save from Lee. She manages to cover that goal mouth very, very well because the play quickly transfers from left to right, and she gets her foot on the end of it at the back post there. So another fantastic save from Lee.
It's always hard on the keeper when she's conceded 6. You can't really fault her. I don't think for many of the goals, maybe one she'll be sorry not to have got a better hand in it. She got a fingertip to one. There's not much she could have done for any of these.
No, certainly not. And again, that shows the quality in Spain's squad. And for me, I know I do it as a player. I'll maybe make one bad pass out of 10, but I'll go away and reflect on that one and forget about the other 9. And I know Lee'll do that tonight. She'll look at the 6 goals and probably neglect the fact that she's pulled off some very, very good saves tonight and kept the scoreline down.
Sure, toch fijn kaas hikken. Gewoon nog een shit zeggen er al in. Kijk garage, on Batlake, Man United. Toch een stad naar Beekjes, een stad er al in. Alexander. Ries, Arabsach, develop it. Goed, check it. Goed is hij niet zo goed develop it. We worden 9 in het terrein voor de week. Do some minutes we hope. Joel, this is hard for Scotland now. In a way, there's really nothing for them to play for. A bit of pride, the hope of getting a goal, but it's a long 12 minutes between now and the final whistle.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think probably even before now, the players have been willing that clock down and looking forward to it hitting 90 minutes.
Partia's got Hermoso, Alexander Ries, Jenna Magariere for the line. Daar is final avond, Genevale, Marie Migi. Final tier Hermoso, Hermoso. Alexander Jenna. Yeah, it's hard for it in terms of a mindset thing to know how to approach the game. I suppose it's just the moments. Do you want the ball? Yes. Do you want to give it away? No. Do you want to keep it? Yes.
Yeah, of course. And it's games like these that you're looking for big characters.
Tolele, Utol, Evinetschiek, Rigol, Schachter, Jedisch, Hiertol, Genei. A Jenny Hermoso ishe in Ischit. Daichens 3 teulen ga duikiche. Narbis mo rief de warum nog spaartjoks ga porin riest. De Lee Alexander Kali jene minischen. It's hard to know what to say at this stage, Joel, except that you can see after that goal, Lee Alexander's really not happy. Rachel Corshay's really not happy. So this is a bit of a lesson for Scotland tonight, but they surely have the players out there who are going to make sure that those lessons can be learned.
Yeah, of course, and I think after a heavy defeat like tonight, you're looking for characters, you're looking for reactions within the squad, and of course you're seeing players there extremely frustrated, and that shows that they care, and it shows that they don't want to be on the end of a 7-0 defeat, but they are, and they know that they need to be better. They need to go away and reflect on not only their own performance but the squad performance. But a reaction is all that you can look for after a game like tonight.
How disappointing is it, given, for example, the decent result against Sweden, one of the world's best teams? Okay, losing to them in a friendly, but losing 2-0, playing pretty well against them, and then suffering such a heavy defeat as there is tonight.
It's really disappointing. I think, albeit that was a friendly, it was played like a competitive match, the Sweden game, and albeit Sweden and Spain play different styles of football, they're two dominant forces within the women's game, and I genuinely expected a closer game tonight, and a game similar to that of the Sweden game. And yeah, it's disappointing, and it almost seems like a step back on our kind of progressive road. But as I say, we need big characters, we need to see reactions, and we need to dust ourselves down and forget about tonight. That's all we can do.
Fusinto, Jultig Alappe, Ivan Andres, Real Madrid, die golden shit. Zo fijn. Ik heb hier in het jaar de Jane Ross, hij is bekend met de Rangers. Wat terug is in, Alappe is koud. Korm, Ruttigen, de goedje met hier in Spanje. Stabiles figet geil. Span Tolmirik, Tolkien in Heilat, the nationale she believes cup, but the region of Japan big and runners in it. The Tol Hall 3 heen going to the lot. For Notion Heilat the Green, the Heilat Tuesday in Tol Hall. And the game Hall. Oh, gewoon to the Tol, the Lachis in, fantastic. For a Milach has the show, the hooker shot the Jaun. Oh, I stay. Kuhurchen, can you listen? Shivan, Caldente, Mariana Caldente, Huur, the toe, get a spine. Geport in de Alexander Fenhikke, geport in de Rinje Fenhikke, vast groen. Och, toe, Gugnoni, get a spine. Nee, de halappe. Tjera Groeres schrijft Maletje in Rashuke bij vier machine gerishach. Ja, Esther Gonzalez koke heen show. Gonzalez again. Ja, Esther Gonzalez hound. Alleen bon met hier. Alexia Potea ze vallen maar. Dus Jay Tole hier. Misschien kunnen ze vallen door de Huri way. Maché Gonzalez Hura should pull told you. On the sheer game jig. Joel 8-0, 6 minutes to go. I'm hearing some whispers of maybe a record defeat, I think, for Scotland. You don't want to be setting records, you don't even want to be thinking about record defeats, whether that's the sort of margin we're in or not. But it changes nothing in the group to some extent. Spain were going to qualify. Scotland are still hoping to be second. So it changes nothing in terms of the big picture, but it changes everything in terms of how you think about the game.
Yeah, it certainly does. You could look at this as a kind of meaningless game in that respect. However, as a country and as a nation, we have a lot of pride. We're proud to be Scottish, and we don't want to be on the end of a defeat, never mind an 8-0 defeat. So for me, it's a disappointing result. If it is a record defeat, it's one that, yeah, we won't want to look back on. We just need to get over this, forget about it and move on, because we can't dwell on it. I think the scoreline...
Don't blame you for stopping.
Yeah.
Never can tell at the moment with Alexander gathering up again. It's just really, really tough to take for players who, as you say, are proud. They're proud to represent their country. They're proud to play at the highest level. They're going to feel that no matter how hard they've tried tonight, that they haven't achieved that.
Yeah, of course, it's so tough to take, especially given the fact that 2017 we were at a European finals, 2019 we followed that up with the World Cup finals. So we, historically over the last few years, are used to success, are used to winning games. So to be on the end of a heavy defeat tonight is something that we're not used to and haven't been used to for many years.
Lily Alexander, Mariana Caldente, Barcelona reached. Shiva Kiori and Tolali Goalach. Esther Gonzalez, Real Madrid, the Shah. Had nimmerst Shachate Kishin, but I was Nikra, and Darna, Chesavu in Chase, Kutter Mihesh, and accounting to Lappe. She gave me in the Vliona. En skipping Jorge Vilda, I guess, Pedro Martinez Los Alapanish, the Cluje, and then the Ukraine, Falav, Secretary, and Spain, the Sigipling in Aflum, the Chicken Yverska Kjaun, and then in Yelan Farach, who was two or sharply. As St. Holstein, Spinozen, gave him playoff for him. Stochiga, Stocha inner, Stocha fuse. Gern de gas, Noors en Varpes, Jaravili, houden New Zealand, Australia heen. Als je slie, vatte drooien naar zin. Spanje viagen haast. Kamelen het al haast. Kamelen Gutje er al op haast. Davinac Gileri goal. Davinac Gileri nog een goal zegt het. Boer Gileri te galappen. Balskanja. Kushne Foskelgerish. Chirach Shachat er vast. Esther Gonzalez Rish. Chirach Shachat de Chaneur. Balskanja van de skipper. Irene Paredes. Schön fatz mir vanaf. Hoi. Dan kan hij een schön fuse. Gaan we naar de vaart. What's going to do? Pedro Martinez Lossagen. Cuthbert Jenema. Christy Marie Fiach Machine. Eugene Ross. Hanegi Fashker. Joel, you've got pals on the pitch. You know, you've got teammates on the pitch. Rachel Boyce on the pitch. Leah Eddy, your Hibs teammate, has been called up to the squad. What are you going to say to them at training? Well, not tomorrow, but your next session before the weekend? Forget about it? Never mind? How were your few days? Hope, was the sun shining?
Yeah, I think it needs to be addressed. I don't think you can overlook a result like tonight, but I think players like Leah, Rachel, and Amy Muir, of course, who's in the squad, they'll go away and reflect, and of course look at themselves and look at the squad as a whole, and they won't shirk away or shy away from it. They'll certainly address it and front it up, like I think the whole squad will. I think there'll be players doing post matches, there'll be players doing interviews, written or otherwise afterwards, and they'll certainly not hide away, and they'll certainly front it up after tonight's game.
3 games to go in the group. Ukraine away, Scotland at home to Spain in April, following both those games in April, then away to the Faroes. It's still there. The chance of a second place in the group is still there for Scotland, and it's still quite likely, but you need to get this one out of your system quickly.
Yeah, of course, and again we spoke about reactions and things earlier on, and you're right, we need to look at it, address it, but quickly get it out of your system, because for me, I think we all expected a tough game tonight, but not quite like this one, so we need to get out of our system. Hopefully, hope it's a one better, just better, the result and the performance tonight. I think that's all that you can look for and ask of the players.
Hier de gemeenschap kan de bewustzijn dan nog kun je van de Spanje lekker zeggen te hoog. Had er weer 4 in zijn arvenij. Arvenij gaat geen, gezond er weer 4 in zijn chenester. Ik ga wat befusen in het daar. Ze zitten in die vergenis. En maar kan je hakken. Alles hoor ik van het zin daar. Levinac, die ga waren goed. Rusje nu is er weer hier af je online. Haast een goedje. Nu gaat de middel. Ik een Spaantje stochen. Maar de keuren voor de groerig. Die vuiltje naar gehaast. Man kan hoekelijk in de mixer is dat. Vanaf wel aan de kleine gever is dus een koud en thee. En de lijnen. Geprepareerd. Ergens. Gaan we 4 uur naar onder zo'n zin. Hij schakelt. Ik is zin aan de civil. Oog. Pul. Gignoni. Hij Spijn. De Guus. Gianif. Alappe. Gaan jullie schakelt. Gaan jullie kindje. Ik is zin in de Spaantje. Ach, veertijd in de kindje geriet ik lees. De voeiense. En het al was al nog geriet de hik. Een bar, als ze voeien teravi, geriet de wisse de vleene in Australië en Nieuw-Zeeland. Bij alle behaast nog eens geriet de wisse daarnaast. Ze is wisse schliende play-offs te komen haast. Ze vallen de krinje gerien, dus groep in de krinje en daar willen ze 3 riget. Ach, bischokke gorstiger. Bisho, er is spirit afgebillig, als er kluw in de nieuwe achtkort heen. Akuschen er de witol na, akuschen er de witol gezocht, terwijl kosje naar baan aan de lappen van toen je woordag. Asjo, er win een lessen geef. Hou aan de civil, Spanje hoog, al lappen, Johnny. Ach, simpel. Joel, it's not an easy one. For Scotland, we're going to look back at the second half goals. I don't think we need to dwell on particularly any of them. You can see the energy draining out of the Scotland players progressively with each and every goal that was going in, with each and every small mistake that told. The point you were making a few minutes ago was that you can't let that settle into your mind and just play on it in future games.
Yeah, of course, and I think you could see not only fatigue from a physical perspective, but also from a mental perspective. Players doing things that they wouldn't genuinely normally do, making decisions that they would kind of do better and do differently with. But again, we expected tonight to be a tough game, but not as tough as as it actually was.
Spain have scored 8 goals without really appearing to break sweat or even try very hard. That's one of the worrying things for me.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the worrying things. I think there was a large majority of the goals that could have been prevented, and we're down to our own individual errors, which is disappointing. But for me, I think Jack Ross speaks about it, Hibs, a lot, being better, and I think there's nothing more that sums up tonight. I think we need to be better on and off the ball, in and out of possession, decision making, absolutely everything, just being better.
Just a quick thought, how good is Spain?
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And we spoke about that cohesiveness before, and again I think that stems from the core majority of that squad training and playing together week in, week out, and that shows on the pitch, and it definitely showed tonight.
Bys yn siwlen mae'r acwsiwn as y fwy yna ysesif gyda ysgei games yn o'ch ala bahas yn darn hatch. Cwig pwynt yn gawn yr Ysbaen, han eisiau gyda ceir pwynt yn yr hosioch ar y Hungary. That's the important thing, Joel, isn't it? Ukraine have lost ground tonight, losing to Hungary, as Jorge Vilda has a chat with TV España. But Scotland remain in second. They remain on course for a playoff place, and that's really all they would ever have hoped for from this group.
Yeah, I think so. And if there is a positive to take from tonight, it is that result in the other game in the group there. So I think silver linings, get tonight's game out our system. We are still in pole position for that second place, so hopefully we can kind of drive forward and progress, and as I say, be better going into these remaining games.
The end of the year, great year for Spain. They've gone unbeaten for so long. Scotland now need to look to April. Ukraine away and Spain at home, and as you say, just do better against Spain at home than you did away. Yeah,
definitely. And I think, as cliche as it is, games like tonight, you can't wait for the next game, and unfortunately we do have that wait for the next game, but a period of time for the players to go away, as well as the coaching staff to kind of reflect and analyse. And we spoke about it before, about does the manager actually have a consistent squad, and I don't think that is the case, and hopefully time gives them that opportunity.
Time to think about it. Kia thank Joel Murray va corner in fat mij hier. Alexia Patea sar llwyhyr yn dweud. Gach cwrdd gan ar y sy'n. Sian i gemi hyn ar oen. Yn naich bio Queen of the South. Mae Grynig Martin a dwi'n ffris yn y cwpa dŵl yn halabe. Sy'n myrin ros caint yn oes nig jeich gem cwtrmach as y Friaf League. Sy'n nirich achgyn yn gem o'r sy'n. Cwpa League, Friaf League yn band glas. Gys City yn ei Celtic bio. Fesgur nes abyn. Ceirwyr yn fesgur nes abyn. Sy'n roen. A chalf an Sbaen yn o'ch. Anna Seville. Mae'n eich gwylig achge, a Rachel Corsi mi halitxe, o'ch tyl i'r chalfachge, a alabe y dronig o link. Rwy'n ilig, eich gyfalif.